Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Cruz. I'm the director of Teatro Kairos, LCAP, an independent theater group in Cuba. Since my English is not perfect, I'll do my best because we are here, and I'm going to introduce Miguel Coyula. He's filmmaker, Cuban filmmaker, independent filmmaker, and he's also my partner. We work together, not just in theater, also in the movies. And he's going to help me in case I cannot continue in English. He's going to translate. And yeah, I started to do independent theater in Cuba in 2011. At that moment, I didn't realize that I was doing independent theater. I just thought I'm doing theater. But the acting institution in Havana, the vice president was so angry and aggressive with me because of my because of the way that I was working, and I couldn't understand her behavior because the play, my first play, was El Regreso, The Return. It was a free version based in the original La Indiana by the Catalan author Àngels Aymar. And since there was not a critic, I didn't do a critic against the government with this play. It was about the Spanish colony. I didn't understand what's happened with me at that moment. Why the vice president was so aggressive. But then I realized that what she was maybe she makes her feel so annoying was the autonomy, because the budget for this project was from the Spanish embassy in La Habana. But again, was weird because this embassy used to help to provide a budget not just for the Cuban theater, it's for the Latin American theater. And you can say, what's wrong here? Because I'm Cuban, I'm doing theater, and yeah. But the thing is that this budget did not go through her, because the independent and theater and independent films in Cuba needs the permit by the government, by the state. So it was my first time when I could understand the way that the institutions can control the art, the way that you create in Cuba. And of course, for me, it was impossible at that moment to continue doing theater because I didn't want to have these ties with the state, because the place that I was interested to do, I knew that probably I had to do in these strange conditions, and I didn't feel comfortable. But then in 2017, we did, Miguel Coyula was the director and the producer, and I'm also the producer, and I was working as an actor. And we did a documentary, Nobody, Nadie, Nobody. It's about a Cuban poet, a dissident Cuban poet, and we suffered a police raid to prevent the exhibition of this documentary in a private gallery. And this event was, it was a very important moment in my life, because it was the first time that I could see the repression. It was more than censorship. It was repression, because there were a lot of cops, agents, and we couldn't we couldn't arrive to the gallery. And yeah, and that moment I started to write the new play of the Teatro Kairos, is the group, The Enemies of the People. And we did the presentation in the same gallery. 6 months later, we changed the strategy, because the first time we couldn't arrive, because we went there at the just 30 minutes before the presentation. But then, 5 months later, we went there 4 hours before the schedule, no, for the presentation, and we could arrive. And
One important detail is that the first time we announced on Facebook that we were going to do the screening of a film. So the second time, we thought we're going to invite people just by word of mouth and not use the web, and just visit people and say there's going to be this theater play this day, and we thought it was going to be okay, but still the police was there.
We are going to show you the video, because there was a journalist there, and he was filming what happened with that night during the presentation of the play in Casa Galería El Círculo, is the name of the private gallery.
Ahora sí.
¿No? Se pide permiso cuando uno pasa de eso. No, se pasa por encima, o sea, no hay educación. Qué educados son, o sea, me parece, es como, es algo tan denigrante. O sea, que quieren hasta pasar por encima de las personas, de los ciudadanos, siendo cubanos todos, que todos somos cubanos. Deberíamos sentir vergüenza. Eso es lo que ella va a mi casa invitada. No se puede. Ella va a invitarse a casa. Hay que matarlo. Vamos a subir. Ustedes también pueden.
No se han leído la obra, porque no saben de lo que trata.
Los personajes
Porque nadie que esa obra no ha salido a la luz.
no se le ha dado culpa.
Nadie la ha leído. Nosotros dos lo
Esto es una culpa kafkiana, o sea, esto es como si tú fueras extranjero. Hiciste algo malo, ¿no? No tengo mi carnet que va. ¿Su nombre? No tiene nombre. Es decir, que ustedes tampoco dan su nombre. Delincuentes, entonces. Los delincuentes son los que se esconden. Las personas que no tienen delito no tienen por qué esconder su nombre. Yo no tengo delito, yo le di el siguiente. Usted es un delincuente. Que no va a su nombre. Si usted se disfraza con un uniforme de seguridad del Estado, no va a su nombre. Usted es un delincuente. No. Dígame su nombre. Ya le dije quién soy yo.
Violencia psicológica. Porque tú no tienes que estar plantado en la puerta de mi casa y no dejar entrar a las personas que tienen libre circulación porque es un derecho nacional.
Bueno, lo que me alegra es que todos los vecinos del día vean cómo, o sea, ya no es la oposición, es a los artistas cubanos, o sea, ya no es la oposición cubana, es contra todos, es una guerra de ustedes contra todos nosotros. Me alegra que todo el mundo sea testigo de esto, me alegra muchísimo.
Entramos 4. Privilegiado que entramos.
Aunque mi padre siempre dice que en el año 59 el que no se incorporaba a la revolución era un insensible. Pero yo me consideraría un ser muy pequeño si no hubiera hecho lo que hice. ¡Yo lo maté! ¡Yo lo hice! So after this experience, we could do 6 more presentations in Havana, in different spaces. Because we did this invitation, and not too many, but some people were sending message, and they invite us to do the monologue in their houses. And it's a very short monologue. It's just 30 minutes, and it was easy to do because the content of this monologue is very critic and against, it's very critic with the government, and because I had this anger after the first police raid we had with Nadia, and it was a way to ¿cómo dice? Soltar to express exercise this anger. And then this was in 2017, and in 2018 I become censored as an actor. I was erased of the cultural life in Cuba. I used to work in cinema in the Cuban institutions, but after this experience with the documentary and with the enemies of the people, it was the end for me. The only ties I had with the institution was as an actress, and I lost these ties. And then in 2000, this was in 2017, and in 2018, sorry, I was censored. And then the next play we did, the name is Patriotism 3677. We can share the images, because this, what I was trying to do with the plays that I was doing is to express what all this, I need help now. Yo estaba tratando de expresar todo lo que desde los márgenes no se veía representado en el teatro ni en la televisión.
I was trying to express from the outside, from the margins, what you could not see represented on the official state theater.
This was an public intervention, sorry, in the ruins of the art schools in Havana. This is an abandoned area, and we, of course, we were doing the presentations at Casa Galería El Círculo in this private gallery, but the next play was bigger, and I couldn't repeat the same strategy. So we did this play very early in the morning. We had to rent cars for our guests, because it's an isolated place. And then we could do the presentation without problems. But again, for example, in this play, I was working with activists, and then were in all during the rehearsals, they were interrogated by the state security, and they were asking what we were doing, and they sent message for me, and we felt this pressure, ¿cómo se dice? Presión. Pressure all the time, but still we could do the play. Because it's, what I discovered with this kind of theater is that you can see the news about the Cuban government, about this authoritarian system, but there is a fracture when, if you as an artist take advantage of this fracture, you can exist. But of course, it's very difficult to confront the power in not just in Cuba, in everywhere, and to have this autonomy is very hard. Also, in all over the world, to have completely freedom. The only way that we found this freedom is doing these strategies where we can, for example, I have to work with natural actors most of the time, because the professional actors, they are afraid because they want to work in films, in theater, with the state, because most of the, as I was saying before, most of the theater, film, movie theater belongs to the government, to the state. And yeah, it was, I was talking about political prisoners in this play, about the conditions of this, because, for example, this is the daughter of a dissident. In the Cuban theater, the dissidents in the place, in the Cuban theater, sorry, it's that this kind of person doesn't exist, are completely in the dark. And this what I am appealing to talk about this dark area of the Cuban society. And you have to pay the price, no? ¿Cómo se dice? But yeah, it's what I am interested in to do in theater. And then in 2021, we did Sala R. It's I'm going to play the. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. This play, it was interesting for me because in last year, in July, there was a big, the biggest protest in Cuba after the Cuban Revolution. And it was a curiosity for me that after this protest, I could work with a lot of actors. It was a completely different than the rest of my plays. And for example, the composer of this play, he's a student. He studied at the art school, at the, ¿cómo se dice? Instituto Superior de Arte. It's a college, the art college in Cuba. And him was working in the group, even if he knows that it's an independent group and with this political content, he still is part of the group. And for me, it was very revealing what happened in Cuba after this protest. because the group was, ¿cómo se dice? Creciendo, como
Growing.
growing. Mhm. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hablar de la embajada checa.
This project was the Czech Republic embassy in Havana was interested in the way that we were working with the group, and they were we received a grant from the embassy to do this play. And then, because I was working with different, not just actors or professionals of the theater, it's a very mixed group. There are writer, visual artists. They did a book with the play, and we published this book recently in Madrid by the Hurón Azul editorial. And yeah, what at the beginning was crazy idea because it was almost impossible to exist in this way. Now it's getting bigger, no? Little by little, we can do the plays completely independent from the Cuban institutions, and this is a good.
Maybe you can talk about how we ended up in the rooftop.
Oh yeah,
Which is an
yeah,
interesting
yeah,
story.
exactly. Because always, since we don't have theater, always every presentation is completely different. Of course, in theater we always say that no, always is different. No, but it's truly different because the scenery changed completely. The premiere of this play was at the backyard of the Czech Republic embassy. And then we had to move to the roof because we have an orgy. ¿Cómo se dice? Orgía?
An orgy.
An orgy scene is an orgy where because it's a illness hospital, no? Como,
Yes, it's a hospital for mentally ill people.
people
And there was a scene with nudity where there's an orgy between the patients, and the Czech embassy decided that it was not proper to do there, so that's how we ended up
in the roof.
In the roof.
But still, is
Stage.
what we do. We always do with the plays. We have to move to the sceneries because we cannot do the same play or the same presentation in because it's not legal. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we were.
The only thing we do is we document also the plays with the camera, not as a fixed camera, but more as a character, so that the camera moves around the stage like another character. Because since we always have such little audience, we thought it's the best way to actually keep a more cinematic approach to what actually happened in that place as a record of what happened.
Yeah, we can exist also in the medias because it's another way to not just a life. It's also as Miguel was explaining. Yeah, we did the presentation of The Enemies of the People, a post-mortem report. It's a sequel of that play that we made in 2017, and it was yesterday and the day before yesterday. It was no, because we had two presentations because there are many Cuban directors now, theater directors in this cabinet and also in the third cabinet. And yeah, we did this monologue. Yeah, it was yesterday and the day before yesterday. But well, if you have some questions or yeah, it's a shame that the talk was yeah. You're welcome. Hmm. Yeah. Well. Be- uh-huh. Yeah, there are many embassies in Cuba, especially from the European community, and they are help. They help the Cuban artists. And for example, the German embassy, they have programs with Cuban theater
The
directors,
Norwegian embassy too,
Norwegian,
Spanish.
exactly. But the thing is that these embassies have not completely freedom like the rest of the people, like the Cubans. We don't have completely freedom, and they have to deal with this situation that we have in Cuba. So there are different kind of help. For example, the Czech Republic is more concerned about dissidents, and then that's why they were interested in our job, no, in our theater group, but also because at that moment after the protest on July in Cuba, um, they the scenery, the political scenery in Cuba was very similar in a way, because we had a playwright who became a very ¿cómo se dice? A very cuando tú dices que es algo muy que se visible, a visible, a visible dissident, and it was similar like of course, with the difference, no? Like Václav Havel. And then we were interested to talk about this figure in the Czech Republic, the importance that he had there in compared with Cuba. And yeah, it was. Yeah, of course. It's We have many stories about the censorship, not just inside Cuba, also with the films outside of the country. Because the tragedy for I'm going to let you there, but the tragedy for us is that, for example, many countries from Latin America, they can talk about their reality, their social problems, and they can be accepted by the rest of the world, and they can understand them. But the thing with Cuba is because it's so particular, and a lot of people have this affair, still this affair with the Cuban Revolution, and most of the time now it's changing because of the after the protest. But still, with the artists, it's complicated to talk about these subject matters and to be understanding for the rest of the art community, because sometimes you are misunderstanding, no?
Because there are different levels of independency of what you can do. And for example, if you work for the state, that's the least amount of freedom that you can have. If you do a theater play funded by an embassy, you have a certain more freedom. You can talk about certain subject matters. You can, but without crossing the threshold of what's really uncomfortable, like naming the figure of Fidel Castro or Raúl Castro, or specifically the political system or the healthcare. So there is always a limit of what you can do, and the only way to actually reach that limit without any kind of filters is to do it completely independent, which means using public spaces and have no ties at all with any institution in Cuba.
It's a yeah.
Because, for example, yeah, it happens also. Like, for example, the Norwegian embassy has a fund for films, and it's exactly the same way. As long you can be critical in the films, you can tackle social issues, but you cannot go beyond to name people responsible for those social issues in the Cuban government, for example. Just to give you an idea, yeah. So, yeah,
Oh, you're welcome.
yeah. All right, thank you.
I just knew, I think that like the most
Definitely, yes.
Yes.
That's the one thing you cannot touch. The top of the pyramid. As long as you get closer to the top, it gets harder and harder to. Like I'm a filmmaker, and all my films have dealt. My last three films have dealt with this, and I'm complete. We don't exist in the cultural life of Cuba because of this. Yeah.
De nada.